Real Talk with Salwa. My name is Salwa. I am your host for this particular podcast. Today I am alone. My co-host wasn't able to make it. So I've gone through the current affairs, and this is my last recording for that day. I just want us to talk about success and how we define success and what success means, because I think sometimes some people don't even know. And some people don't even sit down to ponder upon such things. So let's talk about this. And this is a segment I had previously recorded with my co host, but unfortunately, that recording had some issues and we weren't able to publish it. So I'm going to just go through it alone today. I'm using my phone because the cue cards, I can't find them. Hopefully, I'll find them in our next recording. So, how do you define success? What does success look like to you as a person? What is success? When we say, "Are you successful?" How would you answer that? Would you say yes? Would you say maybe? Would you say I don't know? What would be your answer if someone asked you whether or not you're successful? You know, have you defined success in your own terms, or have you do you define success by what your parents have told you, by what society has told you, by what your friends have told you, or generally, what the world tells us success is? So, what is success? So, in my own thinking or in my definition of success, I would say success is progress. For me, I would define success as progress. Every progress we make in life, we are successful. And it doesn't have to be positive progress because sometimes people think um, for me to feel successful, I must achieve a positive result. For me to be successful, if I do ABCD, it has to be success. It has to be a success. It has to achieve what it is meant to achieve for me to feel like it has been a success. But I do believe that progress, any form of progress, anything you do in life, and whichever way it ends, is success. Because there is always something to learn, and then there is always something to achieve. If you don't achieve, if you start a business, for example, and then it fails, you know, you learn. You learn your mistakes, you learn where you went wrong, you learn what you did that you shouldn't have done, or what you didn't do that you should have done. And I do believe that that alone means that there was some form of success in the venture that you undertook. To the extent that you will either get motivated to do it again and do better, or you will get motivated to do something different. Because now oh, with ABCD, I cannot manage it for whatever reason. Then you will get motivated to do something different. So for me, I do think that everything that we do in life has an element of success at the end of it, our good and bad experiences. However, for many people, success is I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. And when I say many people, it includes me sometimes. I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. Sometimes you feel like you have failed simply because you have not achieved what you wanted to achieve. You forget about the lessons, you forget all the things that didn't work in your favor, all the things that worked against you. You forget all that and you just focus on this failed. And then you stress about this failed, or this is failing, or this is not working. I always want to ask myself, why do we even use the word failure when something does not work in the way that we hope that it works? Why do we consider it a failure? Why don't we just say it did not work in the way that I hoped it would work? Because failure is a very big word. And the more we keep using things like failure, I have failed, this failed, I did this and it failed, then we are limiting our potential, but we are also poisoning our minds because we keep thinking anything that doesn't work out for us is a failure. Sometimes something doesn't work out for you, but it is actually a success that it didn't work out. That can actually happen. Sometimes you might do farming, for example, you might go into farming and it fails. And then after some time, something happens where the agricultural sector just, you know, is doing extremely, extremely badly. And in the end, you might be thankful that your farming venture or agricultural venture failed because you didn't get to a point where it was doing so, so badly, where the failure or the loss would have been bigger. So you might be grateful in the end that it failed sooner than later. You understand? So sometimes maybe we should program ourselves, stop using words like failure in terms of what we are doing and start using things like it did not work out in the way that I hoped it would. Because failure make it seem like you did something wrong, or you aren't good enough, or it is a horrible, horrible thing that happened. And then that will be discouraging. That is going to poison your mind into thinking, I can't do better, I can't do something different, I am not worthy, and things like that. So I would advise us, as we're thinking about what success is, let us maybe think about the fact that even if something doesn't work out, it can also tantamount to success. So maybe you wanted to do, there are people who want to do a certain university course. You go to school, you want to do law, for example, and then you don't make it to law. You don't make it, and then you make it to another course. So maybe that is where your calling is. Maybe that is the course that is going to take you to greater heights in life. Maybe. It is not that law is the only path where you can succeed. No. So you might sit down and beat yourself up because you didn't make it to law school. When in actual sense, if you focus on what you made, or the course that you have been given, or that you're able to go for, if you focused on that, maybe that is where your calling is, and maybe that is where you're going to find actual success. So I think we need to look at certain things as redirection rather than failure. We have to consider that there can be success in areas or in circumstances where things don't work out for us. So, as we talk about success, I also want us to think sometimes, do we define success on our own terms, or do we define success according to what we have been told is success? And I'm saying this because I am a 90s child, and like in the 90s, everyone wanted their child to be a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer. It was what was, hot cake. It was what was selling. That is, if you had a child who was in either of those fields, that was what the definition of success is. So it's not even shocking that most of us ended up being either of those three, professions, either lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. But you see, times have changed. Now, people are making more money even without law degrees. For example, content creators, people on the internet, streamers make crazy money, and they don't even have degrees. They have like high school diplomas. They don't even have degrees. So these are so if we go by success, by what we were told is success, go get an education, graduate, and get a degree in law or medicine or or engineering. If we go by that, we shall not. There are people who are successful. They are making good money. They are living life, enjoying life by just being on the internet and streaming and creating content, influencers and things like that. So I think that everyone needs to define their own, to have their own definition of success. What is success to you? Is it doing what makes you happy? Is it doing what you love? Is it doing something that is giving you good money? Or is it what your parent tells you? Or is it what society tells you? Do we have people who have defined their own success where they're saying, I don't care what society says, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and if I do A, B, C, D, I will consider myself successful? Or do we still go by what society says? Get an education, after that, get a man, get married, or get a woman, marry that woman, have children, have a stable family, and you have to be financially stable and things like that. Is that what we're still considering as a definition of success? Or are we creating our own definition of success? I saw a 24-year-old Ugandan, I believe she's a Ugandan. That girl said she doesn't want to ever have kids. And she cut her tubes because she's certain she doesn't want to ever have kids. And when she shared her story, everyone was like, "How dare you? You're so young." Everyone was coming after her for cutting her own tube and saying she doesn't want to have children. Is it because we have been programmed in our minds to think that in life you must have children to be considered successful or to be considered worthy? Is that what we have been programmed to think? And is that why we are looking at people who choose not to follow these, rules or these definitions of what success is? Is that why we consider them as outcasts? People who don't want to get married, people who don't want to perform traditional gender roles are considered outcasts because for them, what they want in life is completely different from what society decides that you should want or you should be. So we have to think, and I would advise you, if you want to be happy in life, have your own definition of success. Sit down and tell yourself, for me, to feel like I'm successful, this is what I need. I need a certain level of education, go and achieve it. I need a certain level of financial comfortability, achieve that level of financial comfortability. I need to have a family of such and such. For example, you might say, I just need one child. Do that. Have your one child and sit down and keep quiet. Do not care what society tells you because you will never be able to satisfy the society's definition of success. When you have one child, society will tell you, have one more because a child cannot be born alone. You will have another child. Meanwhile, the expenses are all on you. No one will ever come to give you tuition for you, the extra child that you have had. Now, once you have two, they will be like, two kids, they are very few. Why don't you have a third one? They will not be able to. Kids need siblings. You're going to keep the demands will never end. And you will always feel like you're inadequate. You will always feel like you are not successful enough in this society. Society will tell you you have to get married. You will feel like the moment you're not married, you're going to be under pressure. And that is how you'll end up marrying the wrong person or marrying for the wrong reasons. And then you will be unhappy for life because marriage is for life. So have your own definition of success and stand by it, regardless of what society says, regardless of what your parents say, regardless of what you have been told, regardless of what you see, regardless of what others think. Have your own definition of success and own it. Own it. Say for me, according to me, as long as this and this and this exist, as long as I'm trying every day, I can wake up and try and do my best. Me, I will consider myself successful. I think that for as long as you don't give up on yourself, you're successful because you're still surviving, you're still thriving, you're still trying. There are people who actually give up on themselves and they just say, I'm not going to try anymore. I'm not going to work anymore. I'm not going to do anything anymore because I have failed and I am not capable of achieving anything. But for as long as you don't have that mindset, you're good. You're successful because you wake up every day and you do your best to survive in this world. So we should not compare our success with what society wants, what other people think. We should consider success as what we want. And I know it is very difficult in the era of social media to have your own definition of success because we have been told by social media that this is what success is. When we see people going for vacations every week, when we see people driving very good cars, when we see people living their best life in quotes on social media, young girls, young men doing things that we weren't capable or even able to of doing at the age they are at. We assume we have already failed because we are not there, or we weren't able to do that. But that is not true. Comparison is a thief of joy. The moment we start comparing ourselves to other people, comparing our success to other people, we are going to be very unhappy in life. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we are not the same person. We could be siblings, we could even be twins. but you're not the same person. You don't have the same brain, you don't have the same heart, you don't feel the same way, you don't think the same way. Even when you do things that are similar, both of you are not at the same level of thinking or thought process, or you don't have the same exact. You will not take failure the same way. You could both start businesses and then one person fails and they are okay. Another person could start a business and they fail and they feel like their world is ending. So even when you're doing the same thing, just know it will not impact you the same way. So we should not compare ourselves to other people. We don't have the same challenges. The people who don't have challenges in life, they've got rich parents, they have connections, they have very many friends. So it's easy for such people to succeed when they do something. Whereas for someone who doesn't have a wealthy background, who does not have a large group of friends, it can be very difficult for you to succeed, even when you start a business, because your friends should be your first line of customers. But if you start a business, you don't have very many friends, or you have friends who are not wealthy, you're going to have challenges because who are you going to sell to? You know. So that's why we see on social media some people can start a business and then it thrives. It's because these people have wealthy parents, wealthy relatives, wealthy friends. But if you don't, then it's going to get challenging. But doesn't mean, even when your business fails, it doesn't mean you're not successful. You tried, you did your best. The other person's business worked out because they had some advantages against you, and that is okay. So you can't compare yourself to someone else. You can't compare yourself to the next person. You can't. We don't have the same challenges. We don't have the same weaknesses. We don't have the same strength. We don't have the same opportunities at all. So everything depends solely on you. Therefore, define your success in your own terms. Comparison is not something you should even consider when it comes to success. Everyone is moving their own journey independently. Move your journey independently. And also have your success defined in your own terms and not what others think or what others want for you. Um, so I'm going to conclude this by saying that as youth in this generation, I think there is a lot of pressure in terms of what you have to do to be successful. There is a lot of pressure, and it's understandable because of the social media. Social media is like the world is running through social media nowadays. You see that even traditional uh, news or media houses. They no longer go and they, they are on social media. Everything is on social media. No one, people don't even pay for DSTV or Go TV anymore. Most people just wait online and then they watch segments online. Sometimes you can watch news on YouTube or live. So things have changed. Social media is the place where we go to find everything. But let us be careful what we are looking at and comparing ourselves to. Some of the things we are seeing are not as straightforward as we think. Some of the things we are seeing do not apply to us because we have had completely different backgrounds. So let us not use social media as the basis for determining whether or not we are successful. And a lot of youth do that. The moment they see someone getting married, the moment they go, I tap into the blessing. I tap into the blessing. What blessing are you tapping into? You don't know this person. You don't know the reason they are getting married. You don't know if they are actually doing it for a different reason, but it is always tapping into the blessing. It's always, oh, I don't know why this person is like this. For me, I'm not like this. I see comments. I read social media comments a lot, and people are always comparing themselves to the people on social media. You don't know this person's background. You don't know what they have done to get where they are. You don't know who their parents are. Some people are extremely, extremely loaded. When you're from a wealthy family, it's very easy to start a business and it becomes successful. I talked about this when I was talking about the segment on poverty. You should go to our YouTube and look for the segment on poverty and how it affects us and how it limits us sometimes. Because if you're from a poor background, most cases, it is going to take a little bit of a struggle to get out of it. But if you're from a wealthy family, a wealthy background, it's very easy to start a business and it thrives because the customers are there. If you're from a wealthy family, even if you start a business and you're selling shoes of 1 million shillings, your family members will be able to afford. Whereas if you're from a poor background, even if you're selling shoes of 50,000, you might find that there is no one in your family or amongst your friends that can afford those shoes. So it becomes very tricky. Also, it depends on how big is your network, what background you have. It matters. It matters the people you associate with. If you are an introvert, it's very difficult to manage a business. If you're not social, it's very difficult to manage a business. If you're not someone who is outgoing, you're going out there in these social networks, you're joining these business networks. It is very difficult to thrive in the business sector. So you don't compare yourself to a person who has all these opportunities, someone who can afford. You know how expensive it is to join some of these business networks. There is membership fees, there is joining fees and things like that, and then you have to keep having money to be a part of the activities. So it is not for everyone. So let's not compare ourselves to other people. Let's not use social media to define whether or not we are successful. I think that for as long as you're making progress in life, as long as you're doing something to be somewhere in life, you're successful. Because progress, small progress is what is going to lead you to your bigger goal. Everything starts with a first step and then you keep growing and growing. So let us be happy, let us be contented with what we have and what we are doing at the moment, and let us just keep praying and hoping that one day we shall be the people who are referring to us the achievers. And people are using as examples of people who are resilient and ended up achieving. So that is it for this segment on success. I think we shall be having more and more topics that are similar to this. I hope that this helps to change your mindset in regards to what you consider as success, or how you define success in your life. And I hope that it helps you to stop the comparison and to stop the pressure from society, from parents, from relatives, from friends, the pressure that comes with trying to be successful in terms of what others consider as success. That is it for now, and we shall be back with more next time when we record. Hopefully, my co host will be here. Bye. This is it.